are you?
I am Xavier, aka 4-3 Lee, or as I call myself, the self-proclaimed professional sandbagger. I went 4-3 in Swiss, but thankfully I was able to win on my top cut game, so I guess I made up for it. Had a lock in, little reset, but you know, stuff happens. Trigger sack, it's standard.
That is amazing to hear from the sandbagger himself. All right, so Mr. Sandbag, um, what deck were you playing today?
I was playing my love child. I've been playing it since the start deck came out, set 6-ish. Drajeweled. It's been a whole lot of cope until recently because the deck was god awful. Got the mask. Oh, had some potential. Terrible. But I love the deck to death. Yeah, it's just Jewel Dragons, piloted by an emo boy in the anime. So, I'll take it. They're pretty.
All right, so we're gonna jump straight into your deck profile, Xavier.
Is max rarity, but some of the triggers are preference. Obviously the Drajeweled, the main deck one, not the star deck one, because the counter blast to Soul Charge 2 skill is relevant. My boy Julniel, my Jewel Core Dragon, and then the baby pink dragon, as I call him, my starter. Nothing crazy special to say about the ride line other than being able to call this out of soul and make columns to rush with was useful all day throughout the event. And then the on hit skill was making people just overguard because I guess one soul's that scary with this deck. I don't know. But to get into everything not ride line related, I run four of the grade 4 Drajeweled Ignis. Not much to say about this card other than it has great back row removal. It's non-targeting, so it actually came up earlier. I was playing against a prison player, and the Muna card has resist. He had a couple of them in the back row, but it doesn't target to retire, so it got around the cannot be chosen by card effects text. The fact that you're able to put the opponent's front row to 0 means you can swing into rear guards if you have to go that option just to like grind them, and then negating your opponent's defensives is always fun to blast. It's kind of mean, but I like it. Run 4 of Nocturzio. If the Ignis wasn't the MVP, this would be, but unfortunately there can only be one. So this is the Dark States version of the Stride Dragons or Grade 4 support. Yeah, when you discard him to Stride or to ride the Grade 3, he draws. The important part, though, that came up the most is his on-play skill. So being able to just set up my soul if I haven't gotten there and draw cards helps. There's also a combo where if you open 2 of them, I can, like, discard 1 to ride, and then I would draw, soul charge, draw another off of that. This is now in drop, so then I have the grade 4 in hand, call this again. This goes in a soul, which gives me the grade 3 for fulfillments for the cost, and then I draw again. So it's a whole lot of just hand for free. And it's never really a neg discarding him to right either, because again, you have ways to soul charge this back from drop, so it actually helps you set up. This is kind of my flex slot. I have 2 spaces. I run 2 Ristal Galer. This card, I love it. I think it's very slept on. It's another 4-bet all target, but more importantly, it is another way to retire. So again, if you're trying to grind out games, this is hand filtering, so you can put stuff in a soul to fix grades in soul. But the important thing is being able to pop stuff in the front without having to swing into rear guards. 4-bet all. Every game I opened this, I won. Every game I saw this card, I won. This card is amazing. It's stupid. It's a free Nocturzio Ignis, or if I already have the grade 4, it's a free Nocturzio Ristal Galer, which is enough advantage to essentially win me the game most of the time just on its own. And then my favorite card in the deck, the funny Restanding Dragon. Everyone hates this card. I love it. Not much to say besides he is a 35k beat stick on an Ignis turn that restands. Other than that, I mean, nothing special other than big number and multi-attack. This card, Zagan, I run it at a 4. Obviously, very important to the deck, but I feel like a lot of people miss out on the rush potential this card has. So we are currently in a rush format. And being able to commit these early, reveal the grade 4 from hand, it's like, yeah, I call a grade 2 or less, but even if I like soul charge a trigger, if I am going first, it pushes the columns from 5k guards to 10s, which a lot of times makes people eat damage to try to play for defensives, and if they hit it, okay, it kind of hurts. If they don't, though, you just keep eating their hand, or they just take a bunch of damage. Because, again, we're in a rush format, I run 3 more Restanders and Pusa. She is helpful going first when I don't want to commit another card, which I'll show later, early to the board, but also just being able to add stuff back from Soul. So, again, a lot of these little combos involve this card right here, but if I have this card in Soul, she'll pop herself at end of turn after I restand off her ability. Add this to hand, and it's either soul fixing or a 15k shield, and regardless, that's good. PGs, not much else to say other than I can't run Sanctitude, which kind of sucks in some matchups. But other than that, like PGs, I mean, I don't know. Run them. If you don't run PGs, don't pull the anime special. If you cut PGs, you're a maniac. You need guard. I call him the Vape Lord. He's Varpula. Again, so 4 Rock Arger, 3 Impusa, 4 of this. He draws and restands, so I'm essentially running 11 restanders. I just want to be as aggro as possible with this deck because I can grind out games, but against the Stride deck sets, especially Shiranui, my game plan is to win the dice roll, go second, use these to restand along with Rock Argers to just dig for a little more pieces and push as much damage as possible so I can hopefully just win the game on my first Ignis turn. Because if not, they dominate my Vanguard, I lose all of my hand advantage, and a lot of times I just lose to the amount of swings on that turn. The clutch card of the deck, though, is the Draco Kid. The amount of games I didn't open the grade 4, but his top 7 ability to, be able to grab it out of deck was helpful. And later in the game, if I'm just trying to play bodies, he's nice because I can CB1, and if I have no more targets in deck, or I could just purposely whiff 2, and it'll shuffle. I reveal the grade 4, or if I'm already on the grade 4, which I will be in most points. He just draws a card which replaces himself in hand, and I don't honestly mind drawing triggers off of him because that's just guaranteed shield, and I don't have to worry about drive checking him. To triggers, my heal lineup is, I wouldn't say standard, but I feel like this should be the new norm. A 2-2 split of the restand heals and the normal heals. These are bigger shield early. These are good into a lot of the meta right now. The Mirror Match, Shiranui, Leonorn, Mushi King. Like, there's a lot of things that have restanding components into it. And building off what Chris was saying earlier, this card is really good, especially if they are not running the Shoujo Doji ride line in Shiranui and they decide to run the Genkai instead because their dominated units will be 32s instead of 22s, which means this effect will actually come up because if they are not running the Genkai, I can just still guard with this for 10 and it gets me to 23 and it doesn't matter. But if it's a 32, I can one card guard with this because it's swung multiple times. For crits, I run 4 effect crits and 4 vanilla crits. The effect crits are actually important because there were some games where I would actually just call it and boost to get it into soul for the last grade. So for the 0, we would never care about the 2000 power. It almost never matters. But the important thing is the 0 and soul. And I actually did lie. Sometimes it does matter. If you put the 2k on a grade 3, it'll put it to like 30, which is a magic number on an Ignis turn because they have to 3 card guard it. They can't just drop 2 triggers on a 28. But that part didn't come up a lot. It was more of just having the 0 and soul. That way I can fix with Drajeweled skill and Nocturzio skill, the other grades I was missing. Because if I'm going for game, I don't really care about the shield anymore. I just need to be able to get Drajeweled skill off. I've seen a lot of debate whether to run fronts or draws. I personally like the draws. Defensively checking draws is insane. Offensively, I mean, it's still nice, but if I hit one of these defensively, I'm plussing for taking damage, which sometimes taking damage in this deck already helps me plus because I have a lot of CB skills. It does suck not having the shield, but I feel like the payoff of having these, especially because it is a rush format, so defensively checking those and getting the extra card in hand outweighs not having as much shield if I draw these early. And if I see these, it's like, oh, well, just pitch fodder. I mean, I could keep my pieces in hand. And then the over trigger. If you're not running the blue over trigger in Drajeweled, I don't know. This is, I think, the best over trigger in the game. 100 million, the crit. I feel like this is the only over trigger that inherently outs other over triggers if you've already used PGs, because the only way to guard something with the 100 million without a transfer and negging the crit, which again it could have multiple crit, is to just perfect guard it. And this allows me to grab perfect guards from drop, because when I check this card, I had any card from drop to hand, and so being able to recur shield helps a lot, especially PGs, because there are a lot of decks that just scale so quickly, and the numbers are like 60Ks on like turn 4, and it's like, okay, I guess I just have to PG instead of dropping 4 cards. It also helps me, right, adding the PGs, it helps me keep my hand size up, because I can efficiently guard with the perfect guard rather than having to drop 5 to 6 cards to guard a rear guard swing. But yeah, the deck performs well. It's a great deck, other than when you play against Shiranui, and then you just kind of have to hope they break a bit and that things go right for you. There is a little bit of sack involved, just because it's a very one-sided matchup. If you're going first, it is very rough. You usually want to go second, because the amount of advantage they get from going second just automatically loses you the game outright. But yeah, this is what I played today. I ended up finishing 7-3, which isn't bad. I won the games that mattered, so I mean, there's always that. But yeah, it's my baby.
Who is the MVP of your deck?
If I don't see this card, the deck does nothing. I can't use any of the new support skills. Without this card, the deck quite literally just gets ran through. You will get steamrolled. This is, without a doubt, hands down, the MVP of this deck. If you do not see your grade 4, you miswrite a turn, you lose. Like, even if you don't die immediately, that loss of tempo makes you lose. If you don't see this card, you lose. Because, right, you can't ride what the deck is geared for. You can't use any of your rearguard skills which help you gain advantage. So yeah, this is most definitely the MVP. If you don't see your right target, you kind of just cry because the deck turns off.
Alrighty. So we don't want to cry.
Nope.
And that has been a great deck profile with Team Clairvoyance. Anything you guys want to say to close it out? I know we asked Chris earlier if there was anyone that he wanted to thank. Is there anyone that you guys want to thank as well?
Well, for starters, I want to thank Game Guys for hosting this, being able to allow them to host the event. But obviously, Nalea, Chris, and the our method of transportation, she supports us through all of this. Our mother is, I think, the real MVP of the event, because we wouldn't have been able to come out without her. Um, I also want to shout out, I want to shout out Akia for being the only real one out of our 6 team members, the other 3 team members that stayed. The other 2 left to do stuff, but he was a homie. He thugged it out. He hung out with us, watched us top. So thank you, bro. I appreciate you. I love you, dog.
Alrighty.
I got one more thing to say.
Yeah.
For anyone that debates on, for anyone that debates this meta, it's pretty crucial right now, with stride decks being rampant, and Shiranui being the most generic and the most overpowerful and most broken deck that exists, with the most ridiculous engine and ability it has. Well, right now we're in a format. Deck building actually matters. Don't just think that running four of every single card is like can win you a game. Um, just know how to deck build. Every deck is winnable. Um, but like I said, if you know how to deck build, your odds increases. While yes, there's a factor of luck sacking, deck building also plays a huge part, like a huge part. So don't be discouraged, especially in this format.
And on that note, I do want to add, if you are not going to play a stride deck set in this format, do not be discouraged. Just play to your outs, play slow. You don't, like, sometimes if you have to pass a turn or hold back swings to kind of stop them from full comboing, that's fine as long as you're able to, I guess, keep tempo with them. It's okay if you lose out on tempo a bit, but as long as, they are not completely outpacing you and you're able to keep up for the most part, again, the matchups are winnable, but it also just takes that little crucial thinking too, as far as like planning out your turn and I don't know. I mean, CB denial is a huge factor right now in the stride deck sets. Like, if you, especially early too, into Shiranui, if you give them too much damage, they go Isazo, play the other card to draw, and then now it's like add double PG, draw a card, they play the board for free, and it's like, cool. Yeah, they needed 3 damage to do that, but now they're able to play a board for free. They keep their hand, and more importantly, they probably added cards to allow themselves to continue out tempoing you, so the 3 damage doesn't even matter most of the time. But yeah, overall, the event was great. I honestly was wanting the top 8, but I wasn't expecting to win, but we'll take the win. But yeah, I appreciate my team members. Obviously, they carried me and supported me through it all. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say.
All right. Thank you guys so much. We really appreciate y'all taking the time after the event to spend with us here at Game Guys and explaining your decks for the public to gain that knowledge on how to further grow as players and as champions, future champions as well.
Of
So,
course.
with that being said, Game Guys would like to thank you all and our local community members. And Game Guys would like to thank the BCW Bushy Road staff for Springfest 2024. We appreciate you all coming out. And below this video, there is also going to be a deck profile for each deck attached to the video on our Facebook page. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.